Soldering mistake number 14 is soldering wet copper pipe.
If you try to solder a copper pipe that has water leaking out of the end or has water sitting inside near the end, the water will rapidly turn into steam when the pipe is heated. The steam will then force its way through the space between the pipe and the fitting, causing the solder not to properly bond the surfaces together. This will result in a weak, leaky connection. Also, if too much water is sitting inside the pipe, the water will not allow the pipe to get hot enough to melt the solder.
Once the water stops coming out of the end of the copper pipe, use the flame from the torch to gently warm the underside of the pipe. This will allow any remaining water and moisture to evaporate and escape from the end of the pipe. Be sure that no visible water droplets can be seen inside the pipe before soldering.
If you're unable to stop the water from coming out of the end of the copper pipe, double check to make sure that the main water supply has been completely turned off. Also open every faucet, including sinks, tubs, and showers, to relieve the pressure to help drain the water from the pipe. Be sure to leave them all in the fully open position until the soldering is completed. Also drain any valves by removing the drain cap like you see here. Once the drain cap is removed, let the water drain into a bucket until it stops. Do not reinstall the drain cap until the soldering is completed. If water continues to come out of the end of the copper pipe, you may need to pull additional water out of the pipe with a wet vacuum or blow in compressed air. If you still have water coming out of the end of the copper pipe, you can always try to stop the flow by using a piece of bread. Use a piece of pure white bread, not whole grain, not wheat, or anything with seeds. Remove the crust and roll it into a tight ball. In order for this to work, the bread must be fresh. This trick can temporarily block the flow of water, allowing the joint to be soldered. Before pushing the bread into the copper pipe, be sure the end has been deburred on both the inside and outside, and everything else is ready, as you'll need to perform this as quickly as possible. Also be sure to wear a clean glove to prevent the oil on your hand from touching the pipe. Once the bread has been pushed in, push it down further at least another 3 inches with the end of a drill bit or a pencil. Now do the final cleaning on the end of the copper pipe, apply flux, install the fitting, and solder it. Once the soldering is completed, remove any screens from the end of the faucets before turning the water back on. This will allow the dissolved bread to be completely flushed out of the system and prevent the screens from becoming blocked. If you still have trouble with water coming out of the end of the copper pipe, there are other types of fittings that can be used that do not require the use of a flame and solder. However, before installing any of these fittings, be sure the end of the copper pipe is still deburred on both the inside and outside and thoroughly cleaned on the outside. The first type of fitting is a crimp fitting like you see here. Crimp fittings use a special rubber O-ring on the inside of each end. You simply slide the copper pipe into the crimp fitting and then crimp each end with a special manual, hydraulic, or electric handheld tool. The second type of fitting is a compression fitting like you see here. Compression fittings use a brass ring on the outside of each end. You simply slide the copper pipe into the compression fitting, slide the ring against the fitting, and snug the nut down by hand until it stops. Now take a wrench and hold the center, and take another wrench and snug down the nut. The third type of fitting is a push fitting like you see here. Push fittings use a special rubber O-ring and a metal bite ring on the inside of each end. You simply slide the copper pipe into the push fitting and you're done. What's nice about push fittings is they require no tools to install. They can also be easily disconnected by using a special disconnect clip tool like you see here. I hope you found this helpful, and if you like this video, please hit the like button below, share it with your friends, and please be sure to subscribe. God bless you and have a great day. Bye for now. Okay, Sparky, wait.